Today on GoodKnit Kisses, fold over baby booties with a twist. These baby booties are inspired by a simple fold over slipper design, but added color pop and a braided rope accent. The braid is inspired by Latvian braids with a clever twist to get the rope to pop on top of the garter stitch and add a nice texture. Today we're going to make 3 different sizes here on GoodKnit Kisses. Welcome to GoodKnit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. For yarn, you're going to need a number 4 weight yarn, 30 yards for contrast A and 8 to 10 yards for contrast B. I'm using Red Heart Chic Sheep. My A is color Linen and B is color Mai Tai, and that's for these booties over here. And for these booties, I've used color Lace, which is more white, and color VIP, which is more of a navy blue. You can use other 4 weight yarns as well for this. You'll need your needles, of course. You can work with straight or circular, it doesn't matter. We're working a flat panel. I'm working with a US 8 or 5 millimeter, and you'll need some scissors and a tapestry needle. To get the pattern, click on the link in the description below. All right, let's go over this pattern. We've already covered the materials. As long as you know how to knit and purl, bind off and cast on, you should be pretty good to go. I'm calling it an easy plus because we are covering a couple of other things that are kind of a level up from beginner, but we will do that in the pattern. The sizes are baby size 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, and 6 to 12 months. When you see them in the parentheses, remember the first number is for this size 0 to 3 months, and then this is the measurement for that, and then the next sizes are mentioned next here. Now the sizes here, remember that this is actually going to be in garter stitch, and garter stitch is stretchier than average, so if your baby foot is slightly larger than this, then it will be just fine. We are going to cover 2 color cast on for the long tail, also the Half Latvian Braid. And if you've done a long tail cast on method, then you'll be able to pick up on this fairly easy, but it is 2 color and we will do it in the video. The Half Latvian Braid, I suggest using a butterfly bobbin to help your balls of yarn from getting kind of tangled. And you can make a little bobbin like this, and I do have a video reference if you need that. We are going to be making 2, of course. And I'll be referring to these directions off to the side, but remember that you have a different cast on for the different sizes, and there are a few different row instructions for the other sizes. So you'll want to have this pattern handy. And later on in here, you'll be able to see where the seaming up of the booty is and a diagram. So if you need this visually in a pattern, it's there for you. We won't be showing this on screen later. I'm just going to show you actually how to do it. All right, let's begin by grabbing both colors of yarn because we are going to start with casting on in a 2 color long tail cast on. The 2 color long tail cast on is so pretty. It has this nice little accent along the edge here. And you can work it a couple of different ways. I'm going to work it as a slingshot method. And I'm going to do something a little different where we're going to leave a longer tail so that we can have one for seaming and we don't have to add that tail in later. But normally when you do a 2 color long tail cast on, you would just make a short little 6-inch tail and make our slip knot and then just put it on your needle and start working with the yarn that's coming from the ball to be the part you use on your slingshot. So let's show this so we can seam it together. You're going to grab about 18 inches or so of the color A. That's your main color. And then your accent, you're going to have about 6 inches. And then that's where you're going to put your slip knot. These are not going to be worked for a long time until you're ready to sew this up together. So go ahead and make your slip knot however you like. And your slip knot's actually going to be dropped later. It's not going to be used. So just put that right on your needle. And then we're going to do the slingshot. So we just grab our yarn and then split that and make sure that your color B or your accent's on your thumb and your A is on your index finger. Okay. So we're going to scoop up through B, down through A, down through B, and let it go. And when we let it go, you can see how the stitch on our needle is the main color or color A. Let's do that again. Up through B, down through A, down through B, let it go. We'll do another one and we'll see the this accent coming along the bottom here. Do you see the bottom edge here? So this is the accent color, and then of course we've got our main color A here. So continue to cast on And you're going to pause your video, work on that, and when we meet back up, you'll have all your stitches for your booty. We'll work on the rest of it together. So the stitches you're going to need are 30 for the baby booty size 0 to 3 month, 38 for the 3 to 6 month, and 50 for the 6 to 12 month. All right, continue, and I'll meet you in a moment. Okay, so row 1 is going to be right here, and it's going to be worked in A. So when we turn this over, we're going to be working on the wrong side, and of course it's garter stitch, so we want to knit. I'm going to pick up color A and start working that. But before I do, it's really nice to have this B trapped in here. We're going to be ignoring it for a while. Go ahead and grab A from underneath B and then start working it. So you'll see how it traps that yarn in a little bit. Okay, and it just kind of locks it into place, and that comes into play later on when you're seaming. So go ahead and work A across all stitches, and then when you get to the very last stitch, that will be that original slip knot here, and do not work that. So pause your video and I'll meet you right there. See you in a moment. All right, so you're on the last stitch, and just go ahead and slide off that slip knot and just pull the slip knot out. Turn your work and work on row 2, which is now back to the right side, and you can see that nice accent. And go ahead and work another row of knit stitches across with color A. And when we come back, we will work on the Half Latvian Braid section. See you soon. All right, so we're on the Half Latvian Braid. This is row 3, and we're on the wrong side. I went ahead and bundled up my long strand because that's that seaming yarn, and it can kind of get in the way of the yarn from the ball. This has worked very similar to Fair Isle, except that we're going to be pulling the yarn, twisting it from underneath to make sure it has this rope on the back of your work. From this wrong side here, when we twist it, it will appear correctly on the right side back here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is grab the yarn from underneath. So we grab color A from under color B. Okay, and then we're going to work that first stitch with a knit stitch. Okay. The next stitch, we're going to work with B. So we're going to grab this yarn from underneath. We're grabbing color B from underneath A and knitting. The next stitch, we work with A. So we're going to grab color A from under and knit that. Moving on, you just continue grabbing the next color from under the previous color and go around and knit that stitch. Okay, I'm going to do a few more, and I'll show you how it starts braiding it on the other side. Okay, you can see how it starts twisting it on the other side. Now, this smaller little bundle will come in handy because you can actually move this bobbin back and forth, and it won't get twisted up like this. It's okay if it does. You can still untwist it, and with a bobbin, it's not as big a deal as with a larger ball, but you can actually strategically move this ball around. I'll pause the video and come back and fix my yarn and show you how I move it with the bobbin back and forth. But I wanted you to just see how these are just basically pulling the next yarn out from underneath the next stitch, because when I pull that yarn from under, you can see when it crosses over to the back, it's going to make a little bitty braid right here. So one more time, going around, knitting the stitch, and then grabbing this next color, going around, knitting the stitch. All right, let me show you how to move this bobbin back and forth. All right, so we have our bobbin, and I want to grab this color. I've already got my A, I've got to work. Okay, so I've just worked A, now I need to grab B, so I can just grab that bobbin and go ahead and throw it over to the back and knit it. And it's in position for me to go ahead and do the next one, which is this A here. And then next time I want to work with B, I can just bring it all the way around, and I'm only having to move it that one time. And then I work with A, and I'm not having to move that bobbin. And I go back to B, grab it, go around, and do that. And then my yarn doesn't get all twisted. So just continue going all the way down to the end, and your last one will end in color B. See you soon. All right, so you've got the half Latvian braid. You did the most difficult part of the pattern, and everything is easier from here. So we want to go ahead and work with accent B for row 4, and we're going to knit 2 rows in color B. Before we do, just go ahead and grab B from under A, and it's going to trap that yarn in a little bit better. So we want to go ahead and just start working with that. Make sure you're not grabbing the tail, the original tail yarn here. Okay. And just start working across. So go ahead and knit 2 rows in your accent color. Pause your video and I will meet you back up at this spot down here again. See you soon. Okay, so we're done with B, and we're going to be switching back for color A for the remainder of the pattern. So go ahead and clip color B, and you can weave this tail in later, or I'm going to show you a technique where you can kind of weave it in as you go. You don't have to do this. It's something that I do to weave in tails sometimes, and the back is not going to be seen at all in this pattern. Okay, so we'll start by holding the tail that we just cut in our other hand, and get color A, and we're going to knit with A, right? And then our next stitch, we're going to yarn over with color B over our needle, okay? It just goes right around in this direction, and then we're going to make a normal yarn over with A, and then you can let this untwist. Okay, so this yarn that we just put over, just let it go, and then pull through A in a stitch just as normal. Okay, so what it does is it sets up the yarn to be on the back of here, and then when we knit the next stitch with A, it locks it in. So this is now locked into the back. Let's do that again. So we're going to lock this B in. So we're just going to go over the needle in the back, yarn over just like we're going to knit our stitch. So A, knit that stitch. You can actually pull through and then let it go off the top of it while you're pulling through the yarn. Okay, and then knit the next stitch, not doing anything with B. Okay, so I'm going to do a few more and show you how I work it. Okay, and this stitch is now locked in. I've done it about 3 or 4 different stitches here, and I can keep going or I can just let it go because it's going to get a little bit short for me to manage, and then just continue working. Okay, so you're going to with A, you're going to knit to the end. This is row 6, and you're going to repeat row 6 5 times for the smallest size, 7 times more for the next size, and 9 times more for the next size. So you're going to end up having 6 rows total knit in A for the 0 to 3 month, and the 3 to 6 month you're going to actually have a total of 8, and the 6 to 12 month you're going to end up having a total of 10 rows of the A in a knit stitch. All right. So pause your video, go ahead and consult your pattern, make sure you have enough in your length, and you're actually making this part of the booty, and when we come back we will bind off and start making the foot of the booty. All right, pause your video and I'll see you soon. Okay, so we are on row 7, and this is where we are working on the bottom edge of the shoe, and we're going to end up making a T shape here. So we've gotten to this point, and we're going to be binding off these stitches with a knit bind off, and then we will work all the way to the end, and then when we come back we'll actually do a purl bind off here, and then we will just have these middle stitches to work our sole of our foot. So let's do the knit bind off first. For the smaller one, you can see I've got 3 ridges, 1, 2, 3. For the medium, I've got 4, and for the large, I've got 5, just so you know you're at the right spot. For the small, we're going to bind off 11 stitches. For the medium, 15, and for the large, 20. Okay, so you're going to start by knitting the first stitch, knitting the second stitch, then we're going to pass the first stitch over the second, and that's bound off 1. So you may have done that before. just continue doing that and make sure you've got the right number of stitches. And you should have left a certain number of stitches, and then you'll move to the next row. Let me tell you how many stitches you'll have for each size. So for the small, you'll have 19 stitches, and you'll knit those to the end. For the medium, 23, and for the large, 30 stitches. You'll continue binding off, and then you'll have your number left, but it needs to include this last stitch here from the bind off. So on the smaller size, I have 18 left to knit, and then I have this stitch here. So I've actually bound off 11, and I have 19 left. So I'm just going to continue knitting to the end. So continue binding off, knit to the end, pause your video, and I'll meet you back and we'll work on a purl bind off. See you soon. Okay, row 8, we're on the wrong side, and we're going to make a purl bind off so that our bind off leans the correct way. So we're going to bind off the same number of stitches that we did on the opposite side, and I'm going to bind off 11 on this one, and all I need to do is make it as a purl stitch. So I purl the first stitch and purl the second stitch, and then I lift up and over. So take that first stitch over the second, and then could keep going. So we're going to purl that next stitch and bind off the next one. So I've done 2. I'm just going to continue on. Again, you're either doing 11, 15, or 20. And then the stitches that remain, you just knit to the end. Okay. All right, pause your video, and I will see you in a moment. You will have either 8 or 10 stitches left. So 8 and 8 for the first 2 sizes, and 10 for the last size. All right, see you soon. All right, so our booty sole, we're just going to knit these last stitches that remain. So you should have 8 on your small and medium, and 10 stitches on your large. Okay. So knitting to the end, and then I will just continue knitting row 9, repeating 18 more times for the small, 30 more times for the medium, and 40 more for the large. So you're going to get all the way down to here, and then we're going to do a toe decrease. So continue along, pause your video, and I will meet you at that point. See you soon. Okay, so I have knit my repeat, and now I'm ready to do the toe decrease. So we're going to knit the first stitch, and then knit 2 together. So go through both these stitches here and work them at the same time. And then you're going to knit 2 for the smaller pair and the medium pair. And then you'll knit 4 if you have the larger pair. And then whenever you have 3 stitches left, you are going to knit 2 together and then knit 1. Okay, and then row 11 is simply knitting all the stitches. So you'll have either 6 or 8 stitches. And then all you're going to do is bind off, and then we'll weave in the tails for color A. I'm sorry, we'll weave in the color, the tails for all the color B. So you'll finish weaving in this tail and weaving in this tail, and we don't need to do that together. I've got videos on that if you need that. And then we're going to seam this together. So let's go ahead and bind off, and you're going to leave a long tail for seaming. So go ahead and do that, and then pause your video, and I will meet you back up when you are ready to put this all together. See you soon. All right, so to assemble our baby booty, we need to know a few things. We have a right and a left baby booty. Okay, so this is the right, and we're gonna have a little accent on the right side, and then the left will be over on the left side. So depending upon how you sew it together, it will make a right and left. So we have our little T here, and this is going to be the right side of my booty, and this is going to be the left side. So when we flip it over, you can see the correct side, or right side, is facing down, the right side of the fabric, but the left side of the actual booty is over here. And we flip it over so the edge here lines up with the toe of the sole. Okay, this is the footbed, and this is the sole of the foot. We're going to the toe, so toe to toe, and we want to sew together this toe to the side of the sole. Okay, and we're just going to use this yarn that's attached, put in our needle, and start sewing. And then once we sew this side, we just sew the other one and fold it over this way. So when we want to make the opposite, we just do it the opposite and we flip-flop it. So let's go ahead and sew this side together, and then you just repeat on the other side. It's attached up top, so we want to attach it down below and then come back up from up top. And the one that you sew down first is not going to be seen. So this is a great way to check how you're working on it, this first edge. You can just kind of play with it and make sure you're doing it right. I make sure and grab not just one strand, but go through two here. Okay, make sure I've got a good foundation. I'm going to go up through these two stitches here that looks like a V. It's kind of facing like that. And then we're going to go up through these stitches here and just continue sewing. Just go along. See, that one came out of here, so we're going to go on this next one and just keep going along. Leave this other tail alone. And I'm just doing a whip stitch, so I'm going up through both stitches and then I pull it and go around the front, and that just makes a little whip stitch. Okay. And then make sure my corners are nice and joined. And it looks different when I start going around the corner here. So let's just turn this now. Okay, so when I get over here, you can see that I've got the edge of where my bind off is, and it's got those two nice stitches, but then I just have these little bumps from the purl bumps. We're just going to grab one purl bump edge and go up through where these little V's are, okay? So I'm just going to go through this outside purl bump edge here, and then go up through my first set of V's, okay? And then go to the next one. There's another purl bump, and then there's another V. Okay, and if you're not sure, just kind of pull back and go, okay, well, I was just here, so I'm going to go on this one, go through my V, and just continue going all the way up until I'm out of stitches. So pause your video and I'll meet you back at the end right here and show you where to go from after that. See you soon. All right, coming down to the end, I just have a few stitches left. There's actually a little bitty hole right here, so I want to make sure that I get all of it. And that's that last V there. Okay, so I'm going to go put my finger inside here and kind of push that out, and I'm going to take my yarn and go on the inside with my needle and pull it through, and so it doesn't have this really pokey side on it. It's nice and smooth. Go to the inside, and I can start weaving in the end of my tail here. Okay, and if you have a long enough tail, you can actually go all the way up the other side and start stitching in that way. I actually do, so I'm going to just get my yarn to the other side here. All right, so now I'm on the other side with my yarn, and I can turn this down and start working along this side over here. Okay, so I'm actually going to work along this side and then seam together this part here. But before I do, an added extra measure, if you want to, you can actually take this yarn here and stitch down a few stitches on the inside and let this toe kind of be stitched in a little bit that way, a little bit more secure. So you can go ahead and do that now, or leave it out and do a custom fit. All right, so I'm going to continue sewing along this edge. And if this yarn is too short, you can just use this yarn to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go through this bump here and go through this first little V-stitch and this bump and this V-stitch. And when you do this, it doesn't make a ridge on the inside. It's still nice and smooth for baby's foot. All right, so just continue to work along. Pause your video and I'll meet you back up at the toe section. See you soon. All right, so I'm down at the end and I've got the toe of both of them that I need to connect to. It's got this rest of this little bump here. So I'm just gonna go through this last little V-stitch that I've got. A little bit snugger here. Here we go. Pull it on through and now we can just tack this on down and start sewing along here. Or you can bring this on the inside and sew together this part here. This is completely up to you and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I just kind of do a quickie little whip stitch just around the tops of these stitches on the inside here, just for a few stitches. And I just want to make sure baby's feet are nice and snug. The little toes are nice and snug. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and clip that. It's also a nice place to just weave in that tail. And I'm going to finish this last one up. It helps to have both of these strands nice because when you flip them over, you may choose to start in a different place with these long tails, and it makes it a bit easier. All right, so go ahead and fold this one down. And I'm going to go ahead and come up. Now, whatever's on the top side, I want to make sure and come up through the very edge of my cast on. See that right there? When I pull that down, it's going to straighten out that line. Okay, because it was a little bit wonky. It needs to be grounded right there. So I just go right up through both of those stitches and pull it down, and then I'll come back through that same area and then go through the next part, which is right where that little rope is. And now this is nice and secure, and keep going in that whip stitch. I'm just going in the opposite direction that I had done before to secure this toe. All right, and that is it. So now we just want to weave in the rest of this tail. We can go right on the inside and turn our booty over and just go and make the duplicate stitch right on the inside. And that's it. So when you're done, before you clip off your yarn, the best way to finish that off is to split the yarn on the next stitch that you want to stop. So I'm going to go back down through this one, and then I'm going to split this yarn here, right in between that last stitch, and go ahead and cut it. And there we have our cute little baby booty. So you've got your small, your medium, and here is our largest one. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today, and be sure and tag us on Instagram at GoodKnitKisses. I would love to see your baby booties and what colors you chose. Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.